Hi, thank you so much. Welcome to the Make Your Mark series, and I'm delighted to be joined by Jayne. Your CV is just so impressive. You're Executive Director of the Professional Beauty Group, and also, more importantly for our conversation today, President and Trustee of the Hair and Beauty Charity. Delighted to be joined by you, Jayne.
It's lovely to be here.
So I'm just really curious, what takes someone from publishing and events towards working with a charity like the Hair and Beauty Charity, and what does Hair and Beauty do?
Okay, so the Hair and Beauty Charity basically looks after people in the sectors who have fallen on hard times through no fault of their own. So it could be accident, illness, trauma, domestic violence, for all sorts of reasons, and we'll help in a whole variety of ways. So from financial support, a team in the office on the phone, to actually helping with medical equipment if needed, or more practical stuff like buying school uniforms for children, things that we all take for granted, but actually for some people is really difficult.
As intensely life-changing.
Absolutely.
At the hardest point.
Yeah. Hair and Beauty Charity has been going forever and a day. And I was introduced to it by a former colleague who sadly is no longer with us. And he said to me, just come to one meeting. This was in 1997. And that was it, really.
So 20 years ago, you were just plodding along and publishing.
Yeah.
And someone said, come to a meeting.
Yeah.
And 20 years later, you're still involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was 1997, so it's a really long time ago. And yeah, it's because it's so worthwhile. And I think it's when you can see that you're genuinely helping people so we have trustees and we have a group of fundraising committee, and then the team in the office are looking after beneficiaries who are with us. Some of them for a very short period of time, they only need support. Others are with us for a long time and will need support for a long time because they have an illness or a condition, or they've had a life-changing accident that means they're never going to return to work in the way that they were previously. So everybody is they write to the charity or ring the team, and then are assessed on what they need and how we can help in the most suitable and practical way.
And how does it work? Do you form partnerships with corporates? How do you find, basically, where do you get your funding from to do this work? Because if people need support over a span of years and some, just for a few weeks, it's a big commitment, right?
Yeah, it is. We fundraise a lot. We are super grateful to our corporate sponsors. And we have many that have been with us for a very long time and continue to support the charity because they too recognise, we have all having a great time and have a great life because of hair and beauty. And actually it's about putting something back and giving something back.
Yeah.
So we work with many of the corporates, big and small independent companies, and also individuals and salons who will do fundraising. So we have 2 bike rides going on later in the year that people will join individually to either go overseas, or there's ones in the UK that are just a one-day bike ride. We're doing a summer party on the 2nd of June. All of those type of things people can get involved in. So, and it really is true that every little helps. I think some people are like, I can't do it because I can't raise thousands of pounds. It's not about that. All of the money goes to help the people that need it most. So it doesn't matter how much or how little it is.
What I'd like to do is talk a little bit more about the charity and how you've seen its work go. But then I'd also like to talk a bit about yourself and your career and how that's evolved over time. You won't get away. So if we just look at the charity, and I know it's been around for decades. Yes. How do you see that the work has changed over time? How has it evolved?
The way people communicate. I think the charity is much more visible because we're on social media, so more people know about us to either come to us when they need help or actually to fundraise for us. But we can never spread that message far enough or wide enough.
Yeah.
We want to be the first port of call for hair and beauty professionals who need our help. And equally, we always say in our meetings, if everyone working in the industry just gave £1 a year, we wouldn't have to do any fundraising because that would cover what we need.
Oh, wow.
But it has changed massively. So we're more accessible, I think, and we've deliberately made that decision to make sure that everybody knows who we are and what we can do. But the needs of the people have changed. I mean, the pandemic changed everything. Mm-hmm. And I suppose at that point, so as trustees, we meet once a month to review cases with the wider committee. But in the pandemic, the trustees were meeting on a weekly basis.
Wow.
Because of the volume of need and support that people needed. And it really was absolutely heart-wrenching stuff. The trustees have all been there for a number of years. And I think, we're all quite hardened not hard.
You've seen a lot.
You've seen a lot.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a single meeting during that at least 52-week period where one of us wasn't very tearful about somebody's case, somebody's story, or somebody's need for what had happened in the pandemic. I mean, that changed the world for everybody. I think what we're seeing as a charity is, yes, we still get, the awfully sad cases where it's injury or accident or illness of actually the parent or the child, so the parent has to stop work to care for the child. But we've also seen a huge increase in domestic violence cases, men and women. It is mainly women, and we do support currently more women than men, but the industries are both more female dominated than they are male dominated currently. It will help anybody, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
But we are seeing a huge increase in the number of domestic violence cases where we're having to help support either men or women and children.
And that trend started during COVID?
It started a little before, but it definitely became worse. And I think, I know there's all sorts of reports in the media. If you're in an abusive relationship and then you're locked in COVID, there is no escape.
No.
So there's nowhere to go. So we have, and we've seen that incrementally post-COVID as the world has reopened and got back to normal. Post-COVID, we have seen that too. But, unfortunately, you still get, lots of cancer diagnoses, MND, all sorts of things in it. They are life-changing for the individuals involved, and we just want to be there to help and support in a small way, but it's an important way to try and make a difference.
For sure. When we were talking just before we started recording, you were telling me about how, and obviously it makes sense that it happens, but it's so shocking that it does in a way. The victims are removed from the situation, and sometimes they're moved very far from home.
Often they're moved to a different location, which can be quite a long way from any support network they've had, or their job, or children's support network. And whilst they're helped initially, they're often put into accommodation that isn't really suitable or fit for purpose. So it doesn't have all the things that you and I, for example, would take for granted. Like, sometimes there's no fridge. There might not be anything to cook properly on, or there's not enough beds for the children. So, we will help with practical support, whether it's buying white goods or bedding or, clothes, because often that people flee that kind of situation with just the clothes on their back. So, it's buying toys for the children so they can have some semblance of normality. And then going forward, we always find that the parent wants to get back to work, wants to instill that, and wants to be able to support their own family. And some need help short term, and it can be 6 months, a year, or a little longer. Some will need longer term help. But it's about trying to give a sense of normality for them and the children, and also take one of their fears away, that they can't afford to put food on the table, and things that you can't believe still happens in a country like
that is
UK,
wealthy, relatively.
It is relatively wealthy, but it does happen. And so we'll take on beneficiaries, adults and children, and it's school uniform allowance, it's Christmas present, birthday present, because often there is no spare money to buy those things. And who doesn't want a kid to have a birthday present?
No.
And Christmas dinner, we'll send food vouchers for people to buy Christmas dinner. And and the reason you stay when you're involved in something like the charity is the feedback you get in terms of the difference it's made. And actually, when people have managed to turn their situation around, they're often the ones fundraising for us as a payback to say, thank you for the support you gave when I was kind of in the worst place possible.
Yeah, because whether it's domestic violence or illness, it's a real knock. Obviously, it's a knock to your wallet if you can't work, but it's also a knock psychologically, emotionally, self-esteem massively. Is there any support that you provide in that regard, psychosocial support?
Yeah, we do, in terms of we will signpost people to other relevant charities if we think they need that support, mental health charities. We will also give kind of, not advice, but we have on the committee and in industry, we have business coaches. Yeah. Some are on the committee, some aren't, who have offered their time or kind of to give some kind of career support counselling. Our sponsors in the industry have been fantastic at providing kit for people that have literally had to leave and want to start again, who haven't got the funds, so for a hairdresser to buy the scissors, the clippers, the hair dryers, the straighteners, and our sponsors will provide a full kit to give to them so they can go to work. Even training, we have a sponsor that works with us who've offered training in there, like for beauty therapists and nail technicians to upskill them, or just to give them the confidence back.
Yeah.
Because as you said, some situations like that have a hugely detrimental effect on your mental state and how confident you feel and capable you feel often. So being able to instill that back in people, to give them a sense that, you know, they are good enough to go back to work, they've got that confidence, their skills are on point. We'll try and work with the industry at large to support, to give that kind of motivation and help to go back to work.
For sure. I'm not going to remember the stats, but you're making me think back to when I was starting Paradisefold and I was looking at stats around women's confidence when it came to applying for jobs, feeling like they can recover economically from COVID and so on. Yeah. And the disparities were so great between the confidence that women had and, of course, the confidence that men had. But obviously you want to keep men's confidence high, but you also want to raise women's confidence as well. And it already was such a challenge during COVID. But on top of that, the knocks that you had in that time, health-wise, family-wise, and so on, the stresses, recovering from that, you know, it's a decade-long thing. I cannot see that this doesn't happen overnight.
No, it won't happen overnight. And I think you only have to look in society generally. I mean, the pandemic had hugely detrimental effects on all different sectors of the industry, from the very young to those that were school age, university age, through to the older generation, because they were, you know, normal didn't exist anymore, did it?
No.
You were locked in and you couldn't go to work, or you couldn't go out. And if you do that for long enough, that becomes the norm.
Yeah.
So
maybe I can't work. Yeah. Maybe I won't be able to do that.
And it's having the confidence to, you know, for some people, having the confidence to leave their home and go and talk to somebody.
Sure.
And apply for a job and then have to go and actually physically talk to someone and have a conversation. That can be a really big step.
Hugely.
For some people, because they've got so used to being on their phones and communicating by text or not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I think hair and beauty in the industries that the charity serves, you have to love people to be involved in the industries, because the type of services you're offering, if you think about it, they are kind of the most personal services you can have. Because where else do you go where somebody actually touches you? Yeah. You know, whether they're doing their hair, they're doing their nails, they're doing their massage, they're doing facial. They have you have, as the professional, their undivided attention for the 40 minutes, the hour and a half, the 3 hours, however long. Yeah. And actually, I think
so intimate and personal.
Yeah, it is. But what we missed as humans, and what I champion the cause for the hair and beauty industries to never forget, is how important it wasn't just about how the industries made people look; it was about how they made them feel.
100%.
And actually, that's priceless.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't want anyone to say I'm just a hairdresser, I'm just a beauty therapist.
No.
What they do is so much more than that. They give people the confidence. They make people believe they can do something. You know, they instill that. And, you know, there's also, you know, people tell their hairdresser they're beauty therapists more than they probably tell their partner. And, you know, it kind of became, you know, we were like, hairdressing and beauty is the fourth emergency service. Because actually, there's a bit of me that thinks,
true.
If people were honest, when we were allowed out, as much as you wanted to see your family, you wanted to get your hair cut. Let's be honest. Get your hair cut, get your nails done. You did.
Absolutely.
You know, so, and we shouldn't forget that the industry is so, and so therefore those people working in the professions have to like people, so they are probably hopefully less affected by but it's the confidence of, are my skills good enough? This is a new space for me. You know, the business may have gone under during COVID through no fault of their own, but it's a confidence.
100%.
Loss of confidence.
And just before I talk to you about confidence, you just reminded me of the tribulation that was trying to cut your partner's hair during COVID.
Never.
I never had quite as much appreciation for hairdressing.
Absolutely did. No, absolutely. And as my husband and sons will testify, I would not allow them to cut their own, cut each other's, and I certainly wasn't doing it. So they just had to put up with it and wait, like everybody else, and me. Wait for many months. I mean, my fringe was down here by the time I eventually got in to get my hair. It's the only time I got to grow my hair though, because my hair was always here. So
okay.
So,
so we just spoke about the important role that hair and beauty plays in confidence, and I think one of the things that really strikes me with Paradisefold is that it's really just about that. It's about looking and feeling the way that you want to look and feel, however that is for you. Can I talk a little bit about your relationship with confidence and how that has evolved over time?
Yeah.
Again, just before we started this interview, you were telling me about how you didn't want to go to university, but you wanted to work in publishing and journalism.
Yeah.
Just maybe talk a little bit about that, and when you feel like maybe professionally your confidence was quite tested, or personally, if you want to go there.
Daily.
And
I think I do a very good swan where it all looks like it's fine, whether it's a big event or
whatever.
Great. But it underneath it, can I do? And I think most people have that self-doubt. Not everybody, but I question myself all the time and always want it to be better for the people that we're working with, the communities that we serve, whether that be through the charity or our own through the business, where, the last magazine we publish is, that is what we're measured on. The last event we run has to be better than the one before. The last event we run has to be. So,
gosh, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, but that's what keeps you. I think that's what keeps stuff fresh.
Yeah,
keeps everything fresh, and you have to always, and take on constructive criticism. I mean, people just moaning is not particularly helpful, whatever walk of life it is.
No,
but everybody's view is important, and from some of the craziest ideas have come some of the things that we've done that have been brilliant.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing, and then you have the personal confidence issue of, I had twins, I was going back to work. How's this going to work? How are you going to manage? Are you going to let somebody down? And I suppose it's trying to find a balance. Do I think I found the balance? No, probably not. But
is there even a balance?
No, I'm not sure there is. No. I think the balance for everybody is different. Do I look back and think I would have done things differently? No, probably not.
Oh, interesting.
I don't think my sons are worse off because I was a working mum. I think it's instilled in them a great work ethic.
Yeah.
So they're both they work really hard. So, they're going to be fine. They're getting on with life and they're doing great.
Yeah.
And that's not to say if I'd stayed at home, they wouldn't have had that. But it's just about finding the balance and finding the support mechanisms that work for you. I was absolutely blessed. My sister-in-law and my brother looked after the boys when my husband and I were at work. He was fantastic. But, I travel quite a lot with work. He was left at home with 4-month-old twins. Confidence was probably tested when I went to America and had taken both sets of car keys. So with both car seats in it. But, these things happen. Baby brain, that's what I put it down to. But I think...
You were just excited to get away for a little while.
I was crying so much when I left. I did have a great time, I'm not going to lie. But, I was like, I can't leave. This is terrible. I'm a terrible parent. But you're not.
No,
of course not. You have to find your own balance.
And the thing is, if you're not... I know it's a cliche, but, happy mum, happy baby.
Absolutely.
But if you're not happy, if you're miserable and you feel that you're not flourishing in whatever role that is, your children, they're going to pick up on that. They'll definitely sense it.
And the boys have come to events that we've run and seen it. They've seen stuff, and I think they quite, they like it.
Yeah.
They like to think they're probably quite proud of what I've done.
I'm sure they are.
But I think it's different for everybody. I don't think there was ever a point where I thought, and I still don't think there's a point where I thought, I've nailed it. This is it. Yeah, this is it. I think you're always thinking, what can we do different, better, more?
For sure. But also their ages are changing, their needs are changing. Right. You're growing as well, and what you want to your priorities.
You're getting older.
No. But I mean, you're growing as an individual. You're always learning. It's my birthday today, so we are getting older.
And a very massive happy birthday.
Thank you so much. We're constantly changing. So I think even if you have a balance for one day and it's perfect, that's not going to hold necessarily for tomorrow or next week.
Right. And life throws all sorts of curveballs at you, doesn't it? That you just
manage
and manage. And for me, work has been my constant.
Yeah.
So, and the industries are both, it is full of really genuine, lovely people.
Yeah. We love people.
Yes.
And work with people.
You want to hang out with them.
Exactly.
I can't imagine working in another sector.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. And the people are really good people.
Yeah. So maybe in terms of advice that you'd give for someone, you've seen a lot. You've seen people go through really hard times, pull on hard times and then recover.
Yeah.
If someone's looking at this thinking, okay, I'm in a bit of a black hole or my confidence is suffering, what advice would you give for them to kind of move beyond that?
I think what we all have to demonstrate is resilience, whatever that is too. And that's easy to say. I think if somebody's having a really difficult time, it's about finding your people, your tribe, who are going to be there for you come what may. And for everybody, not everybody has that in a family.
No.
Unfortunately, I'm very super grateful. I have a very supportive family. But not everybody has that. And I don't ever take that for granted. But, you know, you talk to salon owners and stylists that work in salons or beauty therapists, and they become a family.
Yeah.
Where there's a general care and nurturing for each other. And it's about finding the workplace or the situation. And, you know, not everybody wants to work full time or be employed by a salon. But there are salon spaces where you can go to be part of a team and something, so you're not on your own. And I suppose it's about finding that and where people want to help and develop each other too. So, and, you know, there are, you know, yes, there's the charity, and the charity will absolutely always help. But, you know, the manufacturers and suppliers also offer all sorts of training courses and support. You know, there's lots of mental health support out there that's freely accessible to on many of the manufacturers' websites. And there are industry specialists who, you know, and you know, in hair particularly, there are a number of hairdressers who very openly talk about mental health and will talk to people about how, you know, they've overcome their challenges, which is often the best way, isn't it? It's finding somebody who's been where you are and looking at how they've managed to pull themselves through. But if you're in any sector, these are the sectors that will definitely help and encourage people to be the best version of themselves and be, I hate that expression, but be the best they can be for them at that time in their life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So what advice would you give someone who wants to go into the beauty sector?
I'll go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're the only, so there's no barriers. There are literally no barriers. So I think the only thing that holds people back in hair or beauty is themselves, in terms of either lack of confidence or lack of self-belief. You know, you can go and do what you want to do, whether that's work behind the chair, whether that's work in a treatment room, own your own business, travel. There's very transferable skills that you can travel around the world with.
Very portable skills.
Yeah, they're hugely portable skills. And that, you know, you might want to be you may be a colour technician, but actually you want to work for a manufacturer as an educator. Yeah. You might want to position yourself, you know, you're really good with social media, growing businesses through helping them with their social media. There's so many different avenues, but the markets are really fun. And as I've said before, full of really great people. And actually, there is no kind of judgment, or people just can be who they are, how they want to be, live their life how they want to live, and just get on with it. Nobody questions that.
Yeah, I think it's really cool because there's, I imagine, a very high proportion of people who are self-employed, who work the way they want to.
Yeah, there are.
Obviously,
since COVID.
Yeah. Obviously, during COVID, that means it's just a bit more of a precarious existence, but it can also be quite fulfilling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, the market has, I mean, particularly the hairdressing market since COVID has gone more self-employed. Whether that will turn back round,
we'll see.
We'll see as the world starts to settle. I was listening to the radio, you know, and some of the big banks and businesses are now saying you're coming back to work 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So, which is what we all did
before.
So, and I get that people got that kind of work-life balance, and that's hugely important. But it has to also work for the business.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
if one's losing out, it's not
going to work. It's not going to work because it's not a mutually beneficial thing.
For sure.
So, but equally, self-employed or employed, the markets offer great opportunities, and you know, often the only thing holding you back is your own self-belief. My advice would be stick your hand up for everything, offer to help